Hello, hello. Welcome to A Dreamer's Experience Conquer the Chaos. My name is Sean Laurie, and as a father of four and an entrepreneur, I want to give you guys different insights or tools each week from either myself, my wife, or others that will not only help you as an individual, but also as a parent conquer the chaos.
And hey guys, my name is Tiffany Lowry, and I co host alongside my husband. I do wear many hats, and the two that I'm the most proud of is being a mother and a wife. We've had many chaotic moments as a family, and we have somehow always found a way to conquer the chaos. And that's why I'm excited to be here with you guys to share part of our journey.
We just finished the series Mother May. I hope you enjoyed that one. Now we're in June, right? We're in June, and that's the month for the fellas, for the fathers. Um, but I wanted to talk about what's been going on for us as parents and things like that, and just as a nation, honestly, what's been going on. Um, and the reason why I waited too because um, I'm talking about obviously, unfortunately, the shooting that took place at was it Robb Elementary?
Yeah, Uvalde.
Yes, yeah, Texas. And that was literally like an hour away from us. But I wanted to talk about that because what happens, unfortunately, is a tragic thing happens and then we move on to the next thing, right? And I know a lot of people have different thoughts and things like that, but I wanted to speak on that. I wanted to really just address the different things, the different feelings, emotions that I'm sure so many people are feeling or was feeling, especially when it first happened. So, with that being said, I want to ask you, what was your first thought like when you heard, that awful news that took place at the elementary school?
I honestly, I didn't hear anything about it until um, I think like people started our family started calling. They were
Yeah.
calling you first, and then auntie had texted me and was like, oh, I heard about the shooting in Texas. I don't think it's close to you guys, or I don't think it's that far, or something like that. And I was like, huh? um because we just so happened to pull the kids out of school
Yeah.
early that day, because Shiloh wasn't feeling good. So um yeah, seeing that and then looking at where it was, because I didn't know where the city was either, and seeing how close it was to where we are, um, you know, and then seeing that it happened at an elementary school, I was like, I don't know. It was kind of like a disbelief feeling,
Mm,
like um, that it was so close, I think, to home,
yeah.
for us. So.
Yeah. I think, well, similar. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I was actually doing working with my oldest son, with him with basketball, and my phone was going off, and I'm like, "What is going on?" And I wasn't picking up because it's loud in the gym where we're playing and stuff. So I'm like, "Man, my grandparents is calling on both sides." Um, again, text messages like, "Hey, you okay?" I'm like, "Huh?" And I knew something was up with my aunt in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Called me, and I was like, "Hold on, something is not right." So I called, and they told me, and even then, I didn't really know like the details or know how big it was. Like, it's like, oh, there was a shooting at a school. I'm like, oh dang, like, okay, that's sad. And then I found out, like everyone else, like it was at an elementary, um, and how many lives were taken and things like that. And it was just devastating. It was it's sad, honestly.
Yeah.
And what was, you know, because our oldest daughter, she knew, obviously, she's like, yeah, I heard the news. Uh, and I asked her about it, and she was sad too, but it was almost like we're used to it, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I caught myself too. It was like, dang, another school shooting, and it's sad to the point where, it's been happening so much in this country where we become numb to it.
Yeah.
We get to a place where people start debating, getting upset, whatever. Do write essays on Facebook, Instagram for a day or two, and then everyone forgets about it. Everyone moves on. You know,
It almost becomes like the norm now.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is, unfortunately, because what we and we just saw recently, there's a shooting in Oklahoma
Yeah,
at
Tulsa at a
at a
hospital.
hospital, right? Because something I think the patient didn't like what the doctor did, whatever, something like that. But literally, was just, this just happened, right? Right after we just had the shooting at the school. Not to mention we had the shooting in was it the grocery store, right? Was it that was in
Buffalo.
Buffalo, and then we also had the shooting at the church. I want to say that was in California.
Yeah, that was in
Um,
California.
it's just one of those things now where it's like, dang, where is like, is there a place where you can be safe? You
Hmm.
know, and that's a scary feeling. A scary feeling because it's just happening so much. I saw a statistic. Um, what was it? It was, I forgot where I saw it from, but just not mass shootings, but that was high too. But school shootings alone, since I want to say 1998 to 2019, so right before COVID, we have 103 school shootings,
Mm.
right? And the only one that's or the I'm sorry, in the on the list, who is second is France, and France only has 8, right? And that's a wild thing to think about. Like, wow, like why is it happening so much here? Like, what needs to be changed? What can we do to address those issues?
Hmm.
Because I can't even imagine like what those parents, what the family,
Yeah.
because those kids were about to, because our kids just finished school now, they're on their summer break, so I'm sure the kids was basically on the same schedule.
Yeah, they were.
So those kids were about to start their summer break. So I can't even like imagine, you know, as a parent, as a family, like the emotions and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, it's just sad, man, because these kids is first grade, kindergarten.
Oh, they were 10,
Well, no, I'm just no,
10,
no,
8. Oh.
no, no. I'm just saying as far as like experiencing it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just experiencing it. Like, just imagine, like, because obviously you have those that lost their lives, which is a horrible thing, and you even those that didn't lose their life, they're still gonna always be impacted by
Oh,
that.
yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like our son has bad social anxiety. Imagine, other kids that deal with that and they experience this situation, or
Hmm.
kids that were perfectly fine, but now they do have social anxiety because of this.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so that's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, I know that I think the kids were like, was it like 9, 10 or something like that?
I think one of the youngest, I think we're like 8, if I'm not
Hey,
mistaken.
and that's around close to our son's age, and it's just
Hmm.
a sad situation. And with that happening, does that for you as a parent, does that make you question public schooling?
Yeah, to an extent, because I think, like you touched on earlier, um, pretty much, it's sad to say, but wherever we go, we're, at risk,
Yeah.
basically. But yeah, it definitely does. I know, like we mentioned earlier, we pulled the kids out of school early that day just by default.
Hmm.
But I know the next day, I mean, Charlotte wasn't feeling good already. And then, so I was having a hard time sleeping. But I think I had mentioned in the morning to you, I was like, I'm calling off of work because I'm mentally, drained. And
Yeah.
I was like, and I wanted to keep the kids home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And understandably so, because that, yeah, that meant, because me and Tiffany have been talking about, maybe homeschooling down the road and things like that. Honestly, after that, like there's many factors why. but that was just something where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I want to do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and it's a tough situation, for the parent, because I'm sure we're not the only parents that thought this. I'm sure other parents are thinking of homeschooling because of this, and some can or some can't.
Yeah.
It's just a tough situation, um, but it's one of those things too. It's to the point where like what I just mentioned, as far as the churches, the schools, grocery stores. It just seems like the
Anywhere.
hospital, yeah, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. Because as parents, what do you do to protect your kids? You know,
Yeah.
what can you do?
Especially when they go, you send them off to school, public school and or any school at
Yeah,
that.
private school. Yeah,
Yeah, you send them to school, thinking like, oh, my kid's going to school, they're going to be safe, and you know, that's not the case.
yeah.
It's tough.
Man, yeah. It is, and it's one of those things too, because I used to work at a school, so I know. I'll be honest. I know it's very easy to get on the school campus.
Yeah.
Very easy. And so it's one of those things, especially at an elementary. I've never even seen security for the most part at elementary school. I've seen a little at middle school, but not even really much. High school, yes, they for the most part do,
Hmm.
but it's a sucky situation.
Yeah, what elementary school is what you have, like what, what I used to do, campus supervisors, but even then, when the kids are at recess,
Yeah,
we're at lunch with one of the other grades. Or, honestly, probably the safest place in a school is the cafeteria,
yeah,
because you can't get in, which I worked at as well. You can't get in without, a badge, without knocking on the door. There's windows there, but, you're still somewhat protected.
yeah,
So honestly, like, at least, my personal opinion, I feel like that's the only place that is
yeah.
somewhat safe.
Yeah, and it sucks as far as, because you said like there's campus supervisors, security guards, however their title is, but a lot of times too at these schools it comes down to the teachers,
Hmm.
and that's what sucks. Like the teachers, obviously they're gonna do what they can to protect the kids, of course, and unfortunately there was teachers that lost their lives that day as
Yeah.
well. Um, and there's so much, and it's something that just doesn't. I feel like teachers get so undervalued so much.
Hmm.
They do so much because they have to be quote unquote security, right? Because I've seen it. I worked at school for a long time, so I've seen it where they're a teacher, but they also have to be basically always someone's on campus that I don't recognize. So let's just call whatever male figure is a teacher or a coach, and have them address it, because we don't have no security guard. We don't have so and in that moment, right, like you're doing what you can for that kid, but at the same time that teacher, that coach, whoever, is still putting themselves at risk, because you just never know.
Hmm.
um and it's just a terrible thing, man, that that's going on, and everyone now is debating how to go about it, what's right, what's wrong, what can be done. So I just wanted to ask you, what do you think can be done about um, these shootings that's been taking place? What is there, like a perfect solution, or a solution that you can think of? Because everyone has their thoughts on it. So
Um, no,
no,
I no. Um, I'm not into politics, so I don't really, I don't follow. Um, I do know in Texas, though, like we've been seeing a lot lately, the legal age to buy, one of the big. I'm not familiar with guns either, but
the
like the
AR.
AR
Hmm.
15s, like the really heavy duty. weapons is 18.
18.
Yeah. Um, I know that the kid that had did the school shooting, he had just bought that like a week
Mm-hmm.
after he turned 18 or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. More school security,
Yeah.
um, barriers. I know. I think Camille's school had sent an email saying like the different things that they have, but even her school. I think when I was taking her to school that day, um, she was mentioning how like there's no like basically anybody can get on campus. Her school is very open.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no gate, no nothing really.
Yeah.
Like anyone can just walk on
Yeah.
freely and go wherever.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, better, I don't know, school surroundings,
Yeah.
buildings, more campus security. But then, it's like a double-edged sword. Who wants to sign up to do that? You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And I mean, our oldest school is pretty open, but there is actual police officers there on
yeah.
campus too. So that does, maybe hopefully been scaring people away if they, wanted to do something um, ridiculous like that. But um, yeah, I think it's no, because I think it's either Japan or China. I can't remember, but there I saw it somewhere where their rules to buy a gun, they have like 9 different steps you have to go through. Like, you have to be a certain age, you have to take a like a shooting test, you have to take a mental um, health test. You have to. It's like this long process that they have, and I know people were talking about, that's something that the U.S. should be doing and things like that. And for me, it's one of those things because I get both sides. There's just people that they like guns just because hey, I just wanted to protect my family, or hey, I go hunting, and it sucks that why should we put all these rules, it's punishing me, and I definitely understand that because they're like, hey, I'm not crazy, I'm not doing, I literally, I only take out my gun when it's time to protect my family or something, you know. And then there's those people that's like, hey, there shouldn't be no guns at all, just remove them from everyone, you know. And for me, I say there's really no right answer because
Yeah.
if you, let's say we take all the guns away, there's still going to be people that get guns. It's always been that way. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that get guns illegally,
Mhm.
unfortunately. Or, there can be the person that was, perfectly sane, right? And they have a gun and then one day they just go off for whatever reason, whatever's going
Mhm.
on in their life. And, people don't realize it's going on, and all of a sudden they, just act out.
Mhm.
We've seen it before in the news where, a father or a mother um, gets to a place, whatever, they lost their job, they're losing their home, and they literally will kill their family and themselves just randomly, right? And I don't know how they get to that place or what, but my point is basically it's just hard to say this will stop shootings completely or this will minimize it because unfortunately, like I said, it's just one of those things. People like there's a lot of gang members out there that don't have a registered
Yeah.
gun license, that don't, all that. So yeah, yeah, yeah. If you even do the history, back in the day, right, guns, especially in terrible neighborhoods, would just randomly be show up in neighborhoods, and that's how people will start getting guns and killing each other. But that's for a whole nother conversation. But so I just really don't know if there's a right answer, unfortunately,
Yeah.
for it, and it sucks, So that's why it's just so important to really, I say, just protect your mental, protect your family, make sure you do what you feel is right for your family. Don't walk around scared. Oh, I can't go to a grocery store. But be aware. Pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah.
I think I do that a lot, probably too much at times. But if I see something fishy, Tiffany be the first to tell you. I'll just be like, hey, let's go. And she don't even really ask. She just be like, oh, what? I'll be like, no, let's just go, and we'll go. And sometimes there hasn't been nothing, but there's been times where there has been something, and it's just an intuition. But pay attention to your surroundings, especially now. Something seems off to you, go with that. Hey, you can always get that bread later. You can always, if something's just inside you, hey, I need to get my kid early. Pick up your kid early, whatever the case is. Because life is so precious. And that's why I spoke about that when I went live on Facebook, just talking about, this really just makes you not want to take life for granted. Um, our son he hurt himself a few days ago. He hurt himself,
Oh yeah.
and the school called me. And when the school called me, because they were like, oh, hey, and it was random because I'm like, why are they calling me? Like, there's no reason to call me, because he was on a field trip too. But after his field trip, he was coming home. But they called me. I'm like, why are they calling me? So they come me like, oh, we have something to tell you about your son. And my heart just dropped, and I was really just like really freaked out. And I didn't know, like, I knew that I was sad. I knew that I was, you know, really feeling for those families that lost their loved ones. But I didn't really know that it impacted me that much, where I was freaking out. Like, I remember my daughter was looking at me crazy because I stood up like on the phone, like, oh, what happened? What's wrong? And she told me like, oh, he just fell. Um, and luckily it was nothing, crazy. He just hurt his knee or whatever. But in that moment, like, I really freaked out in that moment. I didn't know if they were going to tell me something happened to him on a field trip. I didn't know, something happened at the school. Um, and it just freaked me out. It really
Yeah.
did. Just for that brief second, you know, really hearing that, something could have happened to our kids,
Yeah.
you know.
I think, and I think because it's so like close, like, we hear about these mass shootings that happen like around different places, but like, for it to be an hour away and to be like at an elementary school, like it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, um, yeah, it's a tough situation. As you can see, we both obviously, it's just it's definitely hard. That's I'm not it's hard for me to be lost on words, but it's just one of those tough situations that those kids, man, especially when it comes to kids. Um, Obviously, we have young kids. I've worked with young kids for a long time, so just when you hear those things, you just really question, why. Right? It's one of those moments where you ask God, like, why would someone do this? Um, and again, I'm hoping that people just it, before they get to that point, I hope that these people start getting help. Before it gets to that point, I hope whatever needs to be done. Like, I know, like, I guess the police didn't get the right information or whatever the case was. I just hope these things can get resolved. Like you said, extra security at the school. There's veterans out there that's looking for work. You know, if possible, hire them. Right? Oh, make the budget bigger for the schools. Right? Like,
Yeah.
let's stop shortchanging our schools, because our kids should be protected.
Yeah.
Let's. Oh, we don't have the budget for that. No, yes, we do. We have the budget for every other nonsense. Let's put the budget for that. We're printing out money at the end of the day all the time. So let's put extra money in for the schools, so we can get the protection that they need. I don't know if that's going to solve everything, no,
Yeah.
but we have to protect the kids, man.
Yeah. And I think the toughest, thing for me about it is obviously, yes, like, feeling for those families, but just thinking about how we have to have these conversations with our, obviously,
Yeah.
our oldest, she's kind of more, she's seen more of these, school shootings happen.
Hmm.
Not even school shootings, just shootings overall, just mass shootings. But like thinking about having to have, these conversations with my 7 year old, my 5 year old, you know, like that, like, shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, they're too young. But that's like the reality that, we're living in now.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the toughest part, is having to have these conversations with our babies, because they're babies.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like we shouldn't have to be having these conversations.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the one of the biggest obviously factors is, yes, of course, like a lot of people are um, talking about gun control and all of that. But for me personally, um, the biggest factor is the mental health aspect in America.
Mm.
Like, just in Texas alone, I think we've, seeing different news media outlets and just hearing the governor out here talk about how they're going to have, free, mental health services for the victims and stuff like that. Like, um, working in the field that I started working in out here, I didn't realize how little help people out here get. Not only just with, you know, I think medical coverage, but mental health coverage as well. Um, for example, people that are on the state, um, that have like Medicaid, they don't, like, because Texas is such a rural area, there's not a lot of like psychiatrists, counselors, um, and if there are that are in the area, they don't service low income families.
Mm.
And not that it's a bad thing, that's their choice. But at the same time, the Medicaid out here pays so little to doctors that participate in it, that where a lot of doctors are like, we don't want to participate in it because we don't get paid enough to take on these patients. And of course, the circle of life, you have to get paid for what you do in some aspect. So I think for me, that's the biggest thing with, like, just not this situation, but just all around, is the mental health in America.
Mm.
Like, it shows that it's like just declining. And I think that's why, for me, mental health is such a big thing. And I think it's making it more and more aware now,
Yeah.
you know, even after the shooting, I wanted to take my oldest daughter to school. I wanted to keep her home, but she couldn't stay home because if she stayed home, she had to take one of her finals or something like
Hmm.
that. So when I was taking her to school, I asked her, I said, how are you feeling? And I think it goes back to that feeling numb, because my daughter was like, "Oh, about what?" And I was like, you know, this school shooting that just happened. She was like, "Oh," she was like, "Yeah, it's scary." And I told her, I said, "I have to ask these things now because I have to make sure that you're mentally and emotionally okay." I mean, that should be your job as a parent overall, but it's more so, relevant now, you
Hmm.
know. So,
Yeah. No, that's And like you said, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, obviously, we're gonna make sure our kids are good, but a lot of times they see it or they hear so much, they're just like, yeah, no, like, it happens, and it shouldn't be a just it happens like, oh, it's just sad. We should actually try to stop this, right? As a nation, right? Like, a country, just stop these things. And like you said, it's sad that we definitely have to have the conversation, especially with the little ones, um, because for us at least, we want our kids to be kids as long as possible,
Yeah.
enjoy life, because we know this world is corrupt with so many different things, right? People are betraying each other, shooting each other, stealing from all these extra things. So kids can only be innocent for so long. So we try to preserve that. Hey, have a good time. Of course, we talk to them about things, but we also try to wait, certain milestones, certain ages, um, about certain things as well. Just because for us, we're like, hey, you know, once you grow up. Like, you can't come back from that. You
Yeah.
know, um, I've had a couple clients where, you know, they say like, I didn't have a childhood. And so for us, we definitely want our kids to be able to say, hey, no, we did have one. But yeah, like you said, the mental health aspect for sure, it is a huge thing. um but yeah, man, I guess I'm really just tired of always seeing this is something where, I mean, it happens often. I gave you guys the numbers, 103 compared to what France has, which is 8. And that's just with the school shootings. I think mass shootings is like double that since those years. So, um, and other places in the world is still way lower than this. So it's not like, oh, okay, well, you look at the numbers for mass shootings altogether. Other countries, no, we're still like way ahead of everyone. And I get it. This nation loves their guns. Like, I get that, but how do we be responsible about it? How do we come to a solution where we're not talking about innocent elementary kids losing their lives? We're not talking about people shopping for their families losing their lives. People going to church, trying to worship God losing their lives. People going to the hospital to get a checkup losing their lives. Like, there's no reason for these things to be taking place, but they continue to do it. And so, what is the best solution to stop these things? And I wish I could be like, hey, after this, guys, you guys will know the perfect solution. I don't know. My wife don't know. Um, but I can say, change needs to happen with this. Change
Mhm.
needs to happen with this. And that's what, honestly, that's just what I'm praying for, because with certain things, you just sometimes are at a loss. And I'm not the governor, president. I don't have that type of power to do that. And hey, I hope that they can all put their heads together and come up with a great solution, because I know it's not easy, but it just needs to stop. It's been going on for way too long. You know that these things take place for no reason. Um, so yeah, it's sad, sad.
Yeah, I think definitely, you know, like you said, there's um, no right or wrong, I guess,
No,
solution, or answer, I should say.
yeah,
Um, and definitely, definitely like just leaning into God, you
yeah,
know, during during this time. Um,
yeah,
you know, um, and yeah, just seeking Him for those hard answers.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I mean, and having dialogue with people, just talking about it, and not to disagree, not to argue, but to have an understanding, to make sure maybe you guys come up with a solution, because so many times, especially with things like this happen, everyone wants to be right. Anyone's trying to argue their point to be right. Oh, well, this what should have happened. Oh, this is what we should do. Oh, this is what they should do. Oh, they didn't do this. We should do that. Like, let's come together. We're always arguing about everything, right? Like, that's the thing. This nation is constantly being divided by different things. Let's come together, especially, again, there's no reason why we should be losing children, you know. Um, yeah, it's just a tough situation. So I definitely want to just encourage you guys to really, hug your loved ones.
Yeah.
Um, have those. You probably need to have those conversations if you haven't with your kids. See how they're feeling. For some of them, yeah, they might be like, "Man, that's a sad situation," but they're almost numb to it. But talk to them. Why are they numb to it? You know, what's the reasoning for that? Um, but yeah, have those conversations, have those talks. Just hug them tighter, because at the end of the day, you was able to pick up your child from school. You was able to pick up your child from daycare, from your mom's, your cousin's house, uncle, brother, whatever. Able to tuck your child in. Um, and unfortunately, those families can't say the same thing.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
So um, so yeah, guys, I didn't mean to put a damper, but um, I felt like this conversation needed to happen. Um, and again, I waited purposely, um, because I didn't. Yes, I was doing the series with Mother May, but that it wasn't even that. It was just I knew and know, because I don't even see it anymore really on my timeline. Um, but I knew it would die down, because at the end of the day, they're just gonna move on to the next story. You know,
Yeah,
um,
unfortunately.
yeah, and honestly, the crazy part is I hadn't even heard um, more about the Oklahoma shooting. So some of you guys might not even knew about that. Um, yeah, because like I said, it's one of those things that just it just sucks, right? That's the best. That's the best way I could put it. At times, it just really sucks, man. And so, but again, I definitely want to encourage you guys to just, you know, hug your little ones. Appreciate them. Don't take this life for granted. Um, and do what you feel is really best for your family. Um, and be safe. Just be
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. And sorry, just to add in,
Mm.
um, mental health. I can't stress that enough. Like if you are, feeling, down, maybe you don't know why you're feeling that way, like reach out to somebody that's close to you. We're here as well. Um, yeah, just don't sit in those feelings, because a lot of times, those feelings develop into depression, anxiety,
Hmm.
all of those. And a lot of, not, I can't say a lot of times, but, when you let those feelings of depression, anxiety, loneliness, all of those fester
Hmm.
and just grow, it's when, you start letting that take over.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, definitely. I definitely agree with all that, man. And you know, um, yeah, it's just tough. It's just tough. Um, but yeah, guys, like what I like to always try to say, as we close out, um, man, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just really thinking about the families and things like that. But I just want to remind you guys, as we close out, that the inspiration that you guys bring, to your families, to your loved ones, and never downplay it. And when I say that, I always try to close out with that, right? But never downplay the impact that you have for your loved ones. When I say that, though, I really really um, take that to heart. What I mean, take that to heart, that the impact that you make for your loved ones. Again, make sure you're hugging, your families. You're telling them any grudges you have, any things you need to get over. Um, have those conversations, because just like that, you know, someone you care about can be gone over for no reason, honestly, right? Just trying to buy a loaf of bread or whatever it is, and just like that, they're gone. But yeah, guys. So like always, want to remind you parents to keep being an inspiration. Never downplay the impact that you have for your loved ones, so you can conquer the chaos. We'll see you guys.
Yeah.